Walk cycles are heavily misunderstood in the Minecraft animation community. They look and sound easy, but they're really not. If you want to learn my way of making walk animations, stay tuned. What's up, survivalists? It's Jay from Team Devin J here to enhance your animations and tell your stories. If you're new here, I make Minecraft animation tutorials every Monday, so make sure you subscribe and hit that bell icon to not miss any uploads. If you're not, welcome back. Before I start this video, I just want to let everyone know that my walk animations change over time. If you want my most recent version, check the description and comments below. Let me start off by saying that walk cycles are not to be used for animation. Walk cycles are not walk animations. Let me explain. A walk cycle is a cycle. It uses the same animation in a loop, which offers no offset or imperfections as you would get in a real walk. Walk cycles are mainly used in games because the designers need their animation assets to stay in one spot. We don't. We're animators. Our characters need to move. You can use walk cycles in C-motion when and only when you're animating background characters. Also, don't think that browsing through YouTube and searching up different walk cycle tutorials will help you better at making walk cycles, because they won't. Practice makes perfect. If you don't practice, you won't get it. This is why the FMR Animate rig that I'll be using in this video is linked right up here so you can download it for free and follow along. Okay, so assuming you've got the rig, I'll start going through each part of the body and go over what they do in the walk animation. First, nobody stands perfectly straight like this. So let's get the starting position out of the way. Let's go into your FMR Animate settings, disable Smart Move, turn on Breathing and Idle. After that, let's split the legs apart slightly. Somewhere between 2 to 3 centimeters each side is good. Let's do the same for the arms by selecting the hands and pumping it up by 0.1 to 0.3 of a centimeter. Then select the shoulder joint and rotate the arms out by 1 to 2 degrees. Finally, let's lower the hips by about 1 centimeter to get some natural bends in the knees. This makes his idle stance a bit more natural. Now let's get animating. We'll start off with the hips. To understand how and why we move the hips, we have to first understand strides. Strides are the distance between the legs and their outmost position. This position is fittingly known as the stride position. Fortunately, because our Minecraft characters are made of blocks, it's very easy for us to calculate the exact stride distance, and I can tell you right now, the distance between the back and front leg is half a meter, or half a block. This means that to get from one stride position to the other, the hips must move forward by half a meter. The position between these two stride positions are called the passing position. To simplify things, this will be directly between the two strides. So to get from the passing position to the stride position, we'll move the hips forward by 1/4 of a meter. This is important because our starting position is reminiscent of the passing position. So let's start off by throwing our hips forward by exactly 25 centimeters by holding shift when moving. I'm using shift right now to snap my movements to 10 centimeters. But when you get more experience, you may want to just use your eyes and hands to allow more variations in the walk. You can change your snapping to 5 centimeters by going to Mode, Modeling, Quantize, and change the movement from 10 centimeters to 5 centimeters. And I mean, this applies to everything in this tutorial. If you're just starting out, hold shift to snap everything into place. It just makes your life so much easier. Once you get more experience, then you can start working with imperfections and stop relying on shift. Now, I shouldn't have to say this, but just to be thorough, make sure you're setting a keyframe at frame 0 if you're going to move something. So we move the hips forward by half a meter on frame 6. Why? Well, the average walking speed in real life is 1.4 meters per second. I've rounded this number to 1 meter per second, which is still realistically in range. How many frames is 1 second? For me, it's 24, because my final render frame rate is 24. But my frame rate is 12 in the timeline, so let's work with 12. So to get 1 meter per second means 2 steps per second. 12 divided by 2 is 6. This means that every 6 frames is a step. So why isn't the first step on frame 3 since we're starting from a starting standing position, not a stride position? In theory, it should take half the time to get to the stride position, no? Wrong. It takes time for you to accelerate no matter what you're doing. That's just one of the laws of physics. After you take your first step, you have the momentum behind you to transfer that to the next step. But you don't have that for your first step, so it's going to be inevitably slower. Okay, so now your hips fly forward, but your guy's just being very acrobatic. Let's move his leg forward by 50 centimeters, the stride length. Which leg do we move? Make up your mind and just stick with it. I like doing the right leg. You'll notice that we're in our first stride position, but now we also have 2 joint lockouts. What are lockouts? It's when you fully extend your joints. Now this is especially bad for Minecraft animations because the joints look like they snap into place. To fix this, we'll have to make sure every joint is bent at least a little bit. To do that, let's revisit our hips and lower them on frame 6. For the second step, move forward by 6 frames and move the hips forward again by half a meter. Before we move the other leg, make sure you set a keyframe for it on frame 6, otherwise the leg will start sliding all over the place. After you do that, move the leg forward by a whole meter. Let's repeat this for the next few steps. As a refresher, move the hips forward by half a meter every 6 frames because that's the length of a stride. Then, alternate the legs and move them forward by a meter as well. have that down, it's time to put in the passing pose. Select your first moving leg. In my case, this is the right leg. Go through all the points and re-hit the set keyframe button. This ensures that rotation is keyframed as well as position. In the middle of your stride, in my case frame 3, move your leg up by around 10 centimeters. Then rotate it so that the toes are facing down by about 10 or 20 degrees. We do this because of the ways our toes point in a passing pose in real life. On frame 5, we start nearing the stride. So select the foot and rotate it up so that the heel is closer to the ground by around 10 or 20 degrees. This is because when you walk, you roll your leg onto the floor, usually heel first. Finally, select the hip and move it up on frame 3. Move it up enough so that the contact leg is straight but not locked out. Remember, never lock anything out. Repeat these steps one leg at a time. It'll be a lot faster than switching between the two legs over and over. Cool, once that's done, here's what you should have. Good, let's start doing the arms. This one's easy. You should already know this, but if you don't, when your leg goes forward, your arm goes backwards. A mistake you're probably making is using the hand instead of the shoulder. This is a mistake because it breaks the 7th principle of animation, arcs. By moving your hand back and forth like so, it moves in a linear path instead of an arc, meaning the movement won't look natural. So select the shoulder, move to frame 6, and rotate the arm slightly by about 20 to 40 degrees. It'll be a good idea to rotate it in slightly as well. The key here is to not overdo the arms. When we walk in real life, we don't intentionally swing our arms around. We do it because our arms are relaxed and are the result of follow-through action from our bodies. Move forward by 6 frames and do the same thing but backwards. When the arm is back, you might want to rotate it facing outwards as well. Again, do one arm first, then do the other. You can cheat this by copying and pasting the keyframes. To do this, select the 2 keyframes, hold Ctrl, click and drag to the next keyframe position. His arms seem a bit stiff, and that's because his hands aren't moving. As stated earlier, our arms are relaxed and the movement is caused by our body swinging. So how can we make the arm more relaxed? Simple. When the arm moves forward, select the hands and bend it slightly. When it goes back, straighten it slightly. Again, no lockouts. Now it's time to add some rotation to the body. Rotate the hips on frame 6 to match the front leg. This is because in real life, when we walk, we're not really moving our legs forward as much as we are moving our hips and swinging our legs forward. Oh, and because we're swinging our leg forward, it's a good idea to experiment with making your character lean back very slightly when in the passing position, and lean forward very slightly in the stride position. We do this in real life to balance our bodies. Again, this movement is very slight. If it looks a bit too goofy for you, maybe just remove it entirely. Do this for every 6 frames. It's going to look a bit funky, but that's alright. The reason we don't walk like this in real life is because our chest also rotates to compensate for a hip movement. So let's do this for every 6 frames. Rotate the chest the opposite way. Finally, the head faces in the general direction of where you're going, so give it a slight rotation to match the path. You can also make the head bob by rotating it upwards when in the passing position and back down in the stride position. How much the head bobs is reflective of how confident your character is. Confident characters usually lift their chin up higher and are more relaxed, thus leading to more bob. Weaker characters might look down slightly and have a stiffer neck. If you're doing just a regular character, have a moderate amount of bob and keep him looking straight ahead. The last thing we have to do for our walking animation has to do with offset. In real life, when we walk, not everything moves at the same speed. This should be reflected in our animations too. Let's go to our dope sheet by going up to Layout, Animate. If you've never used this before, don't be scared. Take this as an opportunity to learn a really powerful tool. Down here is your dope sheet and keyframe timeline. This allows you to access deeper levels of keyframes, as in specifically the XYZ PSR values. This left-hand side bar here is basically your objects manager, so you can open it up and access specific elements of your rig. So for our first offset, I'm gonna open up the control waist here so I can get control back. Control back is the chest. With all the control back keyframes selected, I'm going to push it forward by 1. This means that the hips move first, then the chest. Opening up control back, you can find control neck, control arm R, and control arm L. These reflect the neck and shoulders. We're gonna select all 3 of these and move these forward by 1 as well. Now we're getting somewhere. The arms really look like they're swinging. Now let me show you the power of the dope sheet. I'm gonna specifically set the lean of the hips to be slower than the rest of the hips. To do that, I'll go under control waist, which is the hips, go under rotation, and rotation P. Here you can see all the keyframes I set for the lean. I'm going to select all these keyframes specifically and move these either back or forward by 1. This looks pretty good to me. So here's what we have. Hey, do you want to learn animation but don't know where to start? Why not check out my Beginners to Advanced playlist designed to help you improve your animations right here. If this video has helped you, don't forget to share it and help your friends too. I'm a YouTuber trying to influence and change Minecraft animations for the better while working on my own animated series, Levasleer. You can play a massive role in the development of Levasleer by watching more of my videos or checking out my Patreon. With that said and done, this has been Che from Team WNJ to improve your animations and tell your stories. Cheers!